I ask the state legislators to call on us and use our individual and collective expertise when considering this and other important issues. Actually, I plead them to do so. Thank you.
My name is Andrade. I'm a professor of engineering here at the University of Utah. I do a Channel 9 telecourse called Science Without Walls that probably some of you have seen. It deals with science literacy and science awareness in the general community. I've been trying for a very long time to induce, I call it scientific revelations in ascientific communities and populations. I spent the entire day today up on the Hill dealing with the HJR012, which has already been referred to, and a parallel and companion bill, HJR021, which asked the governor to secede Utah from something called the Western Climate Alliance. The bills basically are by the same sponsors and basically all say the same thing, and much of that has been reviewed already, so I won't go over it. The issue is not science. The science is very credible. Maybe it's 97%, maybe it's 99, maybe it's even 70. I don't care. Science is in. And the great bulk of the scientific community understands that and supports that. The issue is belief. If you believe something very strongly and you choose to adopt a position very strongly, no amount of science is going to be successful in changing that belief structure. It takes a private revelation to have that happen. It takes sort of a small private lightning strike in the head to really change if you honestly and strongly believe something. These legislators I've been working with really do believe that CO2 is not an issue. It's a plant nutrient or something like that. It's not a pollutant. We had to define that for Mike Noel from CAN, and so forth. So yes, the science is important, the credibility is important, and everything we've been saying here is very important. And yes, appreciation that science is always uncertain, or at least never 100% certain, is important. And yes, the issue of risk and risk communication and so forth is very important. But as we do all that, we have to understand that rationality is not ubiquitous. It's not very common. That's why we're talking here in the university environment. Rationality is actually pretty rare among much of the general population for many, many issues. You believe what your friends believe, and your family believes, and what the people around you believe. And everything you talk about reinforces those neural connections. That's why it's so hard for us here at the university to get through preconceived notions of how the world works. Okay? We spend classes upon classes trying to teach basic stuff, and you come out of the classes and you believe the same thing you did when you went in, although you got A's on the exams as you went through. So it's a tough problem. And it's reinforced by the polarization in our society today, rather than all of the communications media actually helping with communication. They're in some respect reinforcing this polarization. You're associating on Facebook with your own crowd. You're associating in talk radio with your own crowd. You're hearing what you want to hear, and that's all reinforcing. And those neuronal connections are getting so hardwired that there's almost no way to change them. So it's going to take a very interesting strategy to get through this. One way is to find those totally irrational legislators and get rid of them. So I have a letter in the Southern Utah News today about Mike Noel, defining what why CO2 is a pollutant, and some of the issues involved in HJR12 and 21. It's in the Kanab paper because he's from that district, and he's up for re-election this fall. And so we all go throughout the state. Most of us are here because we love this state and we love its hinterlands and its natural areas. So when you're out there, talk to people, write letters, pick up that local paper, get involved. I was actually sent an email by the editor of that paper who said, thanks. You know, the whole world thinks we're brain dead down here because of Mike Noel. And they're really not. So these areas of Utah have received considerable immigration in recent years. There are people moving in. So there's a potential for dilution. There's a potential for changing the dynamic, the legislative and electoral dynamic. But it's going to take an enormous amount of work. Talk to talk radio. Call them up. I'm trying to do that. And it's really, really hard. I understand. But you've got to do it. It's a dilution problem. You've got to break through that cycle of poisonous intra-communication and get a different perspective in there. And then, if we can all do that, there's a chance we might change the system a little bit. Thank you.